Welcome to Hot Topics in International Trade, brought to you by Braumiller Law Group and Braumiller Consulting Group. Hi, this is Bob Brewer with Braumiller Law Group. Thanks for joining us on today's podcast. I have with me the newest member of the Braumiller Law Group team, Kerry Wang.
Hi.
Our brand new senior associate attorney. I think at this point, I'm excited about this because basically those of you who know me even a little bit, my favorite subject is China. I've written articles on it. Obviously, we've done podcasts on it. But this young lady to my right here, she was born and raised in China. Not only that, educated in China. But not only that, educated in the United States of America. Juris Doctor from UCLA. Prior to this, she earned her Juris Master from China University of Political Science and Law in Beijing. And she's admitted to practice law in the state of California, People's Republic of China as well. Get that. And the Court of International Trade. But this, to me, this is the most impressive thing about this young lady. She holds an MBBS in medicine from the School of Medicine of Sun Yat-sen University in, pronounce this right?
Yeah.
Guangzhou, China.
Mm-hmm. Guangzhou, China.
Guangzhou, China. 5 years. 5 years she went to medical school and then stopped, put the brakes on. Dad, I just don't think I want to be a doctor. Like, she's in her residency and he's like, what? Okay, honey, what do you want to do? She says, I want to be an attorney. Kerry, what was it down this path that just made you do that,
Thank you, Bob, for the intro. You basically tell everyone how old I am. Yeah, I grew up in a very regiment Chinese household. Yeah. So in my dad's opinion, there are only three professions: doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So, of course, a doctor is the most desired profession in the family. So with that in mind, I went to medical school. When I was in the last year of my medical school, I had a 1-year residency, like where I rotate in different departments within a hospital. Mm-hmm. And I saw what a daily life of a doctor would look like. And I kind of felt like that was something I would like to have for my future. So I just decided to make a change and apply for law school and became a lawyer.
Yeah, and UCLA, one of the top schools.
Thank you.
I tell you what, you always talk about that, one of the smartest people in the room. But the thing about it, I look at it this way too. It's not only that; it's that what made you decide when you put the brakes on to actually, with all the different practice areas that you could have gone into law, why international trade?
That's a good question. I developed this genuine interest in international trade when I started to understand the importance and oftentimes intense trade relations between China and the U.S. Mm-hmm. As we all know, the paradigm of trade have shifted from liberal trade liberalization to a more economic nationalism. Mm-hmm. So this was highlighted during my time while I was studying in UCLA law. That was also the time when former president posed a series of Section 301 duties on billions dollars of Chinese imports. So I started to understand the nuances and within the trade and importance of the trade. Mm-hmm. As you talked about in your introduction, I had this deep-rooted connection with China. Mm-hmm. I was born and raised in China. I cherish my homeland dearly. But meanwhile, I'm very grateful of the top-tier legal education I received in the U.S. And I love leaving California, where I consider the second home. Mm-hmm. I almost feel propelled to do something that can contribute positively to the intense relationship between China and U.S. I saw that as something meaningful and impactful. I see myself as a bridge to foster the trade collaborations and contribute to the intense trade relationships.
Wow, a woman with
China.
A cause.
Yes,
not just an attorney. This is great. I mean, I've always talked about that too. If we could just get along, think what we could do, the two largest economies on the planet together. But I would imagine, I know how much we run into China, U.S. policies, regulations, and that. But what's always come into play with you, I'm sure, has been your first language is in English.
Yeah.
It's Mandarin. You also speak Cantonese. Give us something in Mandarin just to prove to the people I'm not just making this up.
大家好，我是王律师。我的主要的职业业务是国际贸易和进出口管控以及海关法。
All right, so I don't have to subtitle it. What did you just say?
I say hey, I'm Kerry, and I specialize in international trade and import and export law. Yeah, I'm happy to help you.
How's this come up, though? This is great, though. Give us an example where it's really helped with the language and the cultural exchange, where it's come into play.
Yeah, being bilingual has been an invaluable asset for my role as an international trade attorney. It's kind of parts of my identity where I serve as a cultural and a linguistic conduit in various complex trade matters. Being able to read documents in their own language gives me advantage to understand the situation quickly. Fortunate to receive education from both countries provide me this holistic perspective on a lot of things. For example, I had this client, Michael. He came to us because he got into a dispute with the CBP regarding the country of origin of his merchandise. In this case, they are plywoods. So he speaks limited English. When he came to us, we immediately had this discussion with him and a supplier, map out the supply chain. And because I can communicate with them effectively, I gathered the documents in a timely manner and submitted to CBP. And after the submission, we had multiple rounds of discussion with the customs. Eventually, customs are pleased with the submission we did and decided to remove the anti-dumping duties they initially wanted to impose, which is $1 million.
$1 million.
Yeah. So the goods itself is like a 20,000. However, the anti-dumping duties are substantial in most cases. So this could, potentially put Michael out of business.
Yep.
Yeah. So, eventually, he got a good result. He was very happy.
Good result was?
The custom just agreed with our country of origin, analysis and removed, the anti-dumping duties.
Saved the day and his company.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that was, a really good case.
Cool.
We have a lot of cases like that.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
We get them too. I mean, just so happy to have you on board now to help us in that respect.
Thank you, Bob.
So I'm curious too, because you worked with, prior to Braumiller Law, you worked with the Big Four firm, as a trade attorney. Any highlights, anything that stood out,
Yeah, I want to tell you how I got this job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So while I was still working with my previous employer, I was staffed on this case where we service a company that specialized in advanced medical appliance. We were engaged to provide classifications for their advanced medical appliance. On top of this client hired a third-party auditor to audit our work. So you can see how this setup can be challenging because you were constantly being audited by a third party. Part of my role was review the third party's comments, understand their logic, and do research if necessary, and came to a conclusion whether we're going to agree with their classification or we're going to keep our stance. So that was a really good learning experience to work with third-party auditors side by side, and it's also it kind of helped me to just further solidify the way how I classify the goods. And unknown to me, this third-party auditor happens to be a good friend of Brad and Adrian, and they spoke really nice things of me in front of Adrian and Brad. So they came to me and presented this amazing opportunity. So now I'm here and become a member of one of the well-respected trade law firms.
Yeah.
The best trade law
That's
firms.
us.
Yeah.
And for those who don't know, it's Brad Menard. He's our president of the consulting side, the other side of the house, and Adrian Braumiller, who many of you know, our partner and founder. That's good to know. I had no idea. And that probably is somebody we've been working with for probably a decade, I think.
Yeah.
I could take a guess, but I got it. Good. That's great that stocking us up. So there was one thing that crossed my mind not too long ago. Some of you may or may not be interested, but this was, to me, it was a great find. It was Kay Jean, and she is a Harvard PhD. What a sharp woman. I've watched some podcasts teaching at the London School of Economics, but just like Kerry, born and raised in China, was educated in the United States of America, and she really gets into what interests me is a lot of people have a misconception about China in general, that it's like all these state-run entities and all that. It's not. It's just like the U.S. It's SMEs. It's small to medium-sized businesses that are really driving the train. And it really, to me, it lends itself to showing so much more how we're connected. There can't be a war. There's no way. I mean, this to me was eye-opening when all the things that she was talking about, how economically they have all of these different layers, all the way down to the mayor, who they're all in charge of building their local economies and the way it's all tied together. Your experience with that, Kerry?
Yeah, Bob, I'm glad you mentioned the book. Mm-hmm. It is a really, it looks like a good read. And
read it, Kerry.
Yeah, I haven't been able to read it. But as you mentioned, based on her experience, I'm sure she will provide a lot of news perspectives and correct a lot of misunderstandings.
As you could too.
Yes. So, I do, on the SME part, I do see a lot of, the SMEs, they had difficulties navigating the complex situation when they try to penetrate the U.S. market. Mm-hmm. So I do, I have some thoughts on that. Mm-hmm. So I do feel like, firstly, they need to understand the basics of the import and export. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of good resources you can find on the CBP website. I think there's a section even called Basics of Import and Export. So there are a lot of good menus, materials you can refer to. And also I encourage you to join your own trade associations in your respective industry, mm-hmm. where you can socialize and go to the events and stay informed and stay updated with the trade updates within your own industry. Mm-hmm. And also, it's crucial to understand the impact of the compliance. Like the example we talked about earlier, Michael, he imports 20,000 goods, but he got hit by $1 million duties, anti-dumping duties. So the impact can be substantial. It is really important and crucial to understand the implications of the compliance. As an importer, you're ultimately responsible for all the things, all the consequences. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, I think also it's important to know that there are many duty saving opportunities. For example, foreign trade zones, bonded warehouses, or there are various free trade agreements you can utilize. Mm-hmm. And there are special provisions in Nairobi. You can even use first sale as a way of evaluation if the condition meets. Mm-hmm. So it's also important to engage a trade professional to talk about or explore those opportunities to maximize your savings. Wow.
It sounds like we've got a lot of things. All right, here's where we're at. I like to keep these to about 15 minutes. So do this for me. If you're interested, we can delve deeper into a lot of these exchanges with Kerry on various topics, China and the U.S. I'm certainly going to. And then we can share that in upcoming podcasts. So if you have anything specifically you'd like us to cover, go on the YouTube or shoot me an email, bob@braumillerlaw.com. Say that's interesting, but I want to hear more about such and such. We'd be glad to share. But I really appreciate you stopping by, Kerry. And it is good to have you on board.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks. See you later.
Bye.
Relax. We've got you covered. Global trade compliance to us is just another day at the beach.